Shalom and welcome to this week's Hebrew class, and as you know, we are going through the book of John in Hebrew, and today's lesson begins a new chapter, chapter 19, verses 1 to 5. And I do hope that you are enjoying them and finding yourself understanding more. So let us begin. And of course, as every other week, I've got the Nikud valve markings up and the useful resources and how to use the vowels. And so we begin with verse 1 and we look at the individual letters, and we see we've got an Aleph, a Zion, Lamed, Kuf, Chet, Pei, Yod, Lamed, Tet, Vav, Samek, Aleph, Tav, Yod, Hey, Vav, Shin, Ayin, Vav, Yod, Yod, Samek, Resh, Hey, Vav, Bayet, Shin, Vav, Tet, Yod, and Mem. So fit. And then we begin. Az, which means then. Lakach, and because there's no pronoun, he took. And who is it who took? Pilatos, Pilate, et grammar marker, Yeshua, ve yaserehu. So here we have ve yaserehu, and flogged him. If we look down here, we got yeser, which is appeal, verb, that's the verb form. Right, to punish, to torment, to torture. So flogging has got to do with being tortured. Bar shotim, and the bet can also be with rather than in. So with whips, and if we look down, it is a singular form, shot. It's a masculine noun and it means whip. So, right, now we're going to read that. First, the translation is, then Pilate took Yeshua and had him flogged with whips. So now we're going to read that without any aids and just to get the flow of the Hebrew. And we begin. Oz, Lakach, Pilatos, et Yeshua, ve yaserehu. Ba shotim. And the translation, then he took Pilatos, that's Pilatos took, grammar marker Yeshua, and flogged him with whips. Remembering that always in Hebrew we find the adjective, the description, coming after, not before it. Whereas in English it's the then Pilate took, rather than then he took or then took Pilate. Right, so now we move to verse 2 and we have Vayet. And it is a Vav, Yod, Sin, Resh, Gimel, Vav, Aleph, Nun, Shin, Yod, Hey, Zadeh, Vayet, Aleph, Ayin, Tet, Resh, Tav, Kuf, Zadeh, Yod, Mem, Safit, Vav, Yod, Sin, Yod, Mem, Vav, Ayin, Lamed, Resh, Aleph, Shin, Vav. So we just like to go through the letters because we need to be very sure of the letters and be able to think quickly about them so we can read better. Ve saragu. Vasaragu, and they interlaced. Now, if we look down here, le sarag is a verb to interlace or to weave. So you could say, and they weaved. Then anshe, men of. So now we've got like the description of who is they. Men of, and it's a construct form, meaning it's linked to the next word. Ha-sa-va, the army, men of the army. And now we're getting the object. Ateret, ateret, a crown of. And again, that's also construct form. Right, if we look at any, atara is a singular form, which is a feminine noun meaning crown, wreath, diadem. And then we have kotsim, thorns. If we look down here, kots, masculine noun, it means thorn, splinter, prickle. And then we have vayasimu, vayasimu, and they placed it. I don't know if you recognize it's got the root sim in there, which means to put or place. Al upon rosho. We know rosh means head, so it is upon his head. Again, the vav at the end with the o is his head. And the English, the soldiers wove a crown of thorns and placed it on his head. And now, we will now read it without any concern about the translation, and we'll just read it. Ve sa ra gu anshe ha sava a teret kotsim vaya si mu al ro sho. And the translation. And the interlaced men of the army a crown of thorns, and they placed it upon his head. And we come to part B of 2, and we have a vav yod, ayin, tet, he, vav, lamed, vet, vav, shin, aleph, resh, gimel, mem, nun sofit. And we could say, and they wrapped him. Again, the kibbutz is also like a completed action, and they wrapped him. Levush, and it means a garment. So in a garment. If we look down here first for the first word, the root is at. It's a kol verb. It means to wrap, to wear. And of course, levush is a clothing, attire, or garment. And then we have argaman, and it means purple, so of purple. Because normally in English we would say a purple garment, but in Hebrew it's in a garment of purple. Placed it on his head from the previous part and wrapped him in a purple garment. Right. So let us read that. Vaya'atuhu levush argaman. And they wrapped him in a garment of purple. And now we come to 3, which is represented with a gimel, third letter of the alphabet. And we have Vav, Yod, Aleph, Mem, Resh, Vav, Shin, Lamed, Vav, Mem Sofit, Lamed, Kaf Sofit, Mem, Lamed, Kaf Sofit, Hey, Yod, Hey, Vav, Dalet, Yod, Mem Sofit, Vav, Yod, Kaf, Hey, Vav, Ayin, Lamed, Hey, Lamed, Chet, and Yod. Also, there's supposed to be 2 dots there, just to remind you. Right? And then we have Vayomru, and they said, the U is they, Shalom, peace, Leka, to you. Malak, king, Ha-Yehudim, of the Yehudim. Vayakuhu, and they struck him. How do I know it's struck? Well, the root word is hika, a verb to hit, to strike. As the hay is a weak letter, both are dropped off. So we only have 1 letter of the root, because we're not going to have 2 hays in a row. But just so we recognize that that calf is from hika. And then the following word is al, which can be upon or on. If we look down here, al as a prep means on, upon, about, regarding, at, or by. So in context, upon, halechi, which is cheek. If we look down here, lechi is a feminine noun meaning cheek, or it can mean a jaw of a tool. Just to understand that, so it's related to the jaw. So, the translation is, they said, "Peace to you, King of the Jews," and they struck him on the cheek. That's, of course, sarcastically they're calling him that. So now let's read it. Vayomru shalom leka melech ha-Yehudim vayakuhu al halechi. And the translation, and they said, "Peace to you, King of the Yehudim," and they struck him upon the cheek. And now we come to Dalet, which is the fourth letter of the alphabet, and the letters Vav, Yod, Zadeh, Aleph. Fe this time, Yod, Lamed, Tet, Vav, Samek, Ayin, Vav, Dalet, Hey, Chet, Vav, Zadeh, Hey, Vav, Yod, Aleph, Mem, Resh, Aleph, Lamed, Yod, Hey, Mem, Safid, Hey, Nun, Nun, Yod, Mem, Vav, Zadeh, Yod, Aleph. Now let's read it. Va, Yitzeh. And he went forth. So we know that Yatzah means to go out, to exit, to depart, to go forth. And he went forth, and then we got Philatos, which is, of course, Pilatos. Now, I'm not sure why it suddenly changed to a fe rather than a pay. That's something I'd like to find out, all right, why they change it sometimes. Odd, meaning, can mean again. If we look down here, odd can mean more, still, yet, again, or another. So again. Ha-chutza, meaning to the outside. And of course the hay in the front is direct, oh no, hay at the end, sorry, is a directional hay. And then we got Va-yomer, and he said, Elehem, unto them. Hem is plural, so it's them. Hinni, which literally is, behold, I am. Motzi, bringing out. And we know the root of that is yatsa, to go out. But in this participle form, it's mean bringing out, because it's a participle, right? And if we look down there, hotzi is the verb to take out, to bring out, to expel. That's hotzi. So just so you see the different ways of presenting it. Now we have, Pilate went outside again and said to them, behold, I am bringing out. So, we now remove all that and just read it, for reading's sake. Vayetze Philatos ot ha-chutza vayomer alehem hini motzi. And the translation, and he went forth, Pilatos, again, to the outside, and he said unto them, behold, I am bringing out. And we come to part B, and we have an Aleph, a Tav, a Vav, an Aleph, Lamed, Yod, Kaf, Mem, Safit, Lamed, Mem, Ayin, Nun, Safit, Tav, Dalet, Ayin, Vav, Kaf, Yod, Lamed, Aleph, Mem, Zadeh, Aleph, Tav, Yod, Veit, Vav, Kaf, Lamed, Ayin, Vav, Nun, Safit. Now let's read it. Oto, which means him. Alekem, unto you. Le ma'an, so that, Litma'an, of course, can be so that or for the sake of. And then we have tedu. Now we know yada is the root there, but with the tav there, it is you shall know, because it's like second person with the tav. You shall know. Ki, which can be that, it can be for or when, because. Lo, not matzati, I have found, or I found, right? I have found. Vo in him, kol avon. Now, I've translated as any, and the reason for that is the next word, avon. So how do I get that? If we look down here, avon in the root has two vavs in it. That's how we know it's avon. And it means iniquity, transgression, offense. Now, it's singular, so then the kol, which is often translated as everything, right? Every. It is now any, because it's got to be singular. So, any iniquity. So, I am bringing out him to you, so that you may know that I have not found any iniquity in him. So, let us now read that. Otto alekem Litma'an tedu kilo matzati vo kal avon. And the translation. So I'm bringing out him unto you, so that you shall know that not I found in him any iniquity. And now we're coming to verse 5, represented by a hey, the fifth letter of the alphabet. Vav Yod, Hey Vav, Shin Ayin, Yod Zade Aleph, Hey Chet, Vav Zade, Sofit, Vav Ayin Lamed, Yod Vav, Ayin Tet Resh Tav, Hey Kuf Zade Yod, and Memsafit. Now let's read it. The Yahushua and Yahusha, Yatzah, he came out. There's no pronoun, so it's he came forth. Hachutz, outside. The Alev, and upon him a teret, a crown of, and that's sort of like a construct form, that's why it's of, because it's joined to the next. Ha-kotzim, thorns, a crown of thorns. Yeshua came outside with a crown of thorns upon him. And down here, again, I've got a tara, which was the crown, the diadem, the wreath, or the garland, which is something they would put, at the end of Olympics. And then I've given you here a root word, which is iter, PL verb, and it literally means to decorate or to adorn. And again, I've given you kots, which was thorn, prickle, briar, or thistle. So there we have it, thorns. So, now let us read that. For Yahushua, Yatzah, Ha-chutz, V'alev, A-teret, Ha-kotzim. And the translation, and Yahusha, he came forth outside, and upon him a crown of thorns. And now we come to part B. We have a Vav, Lamed, Vayet, Vav, Shin, Hey, Aleph, Resh, Gimel, Mem, Nun, Safit, Vav, Yod, Aleph, Mem, Resh, Aleph, Lamed, Yod, Hey, Mem, Safit, Pei, Yod, Lamed, Tet, Vav, Samek, Hey, Nun, Hey, Hey, Aleph, Dalet, Mem, Safit. And now let's read it. Ulvush, which we know levush meant garment. Down here I've got it again, attire or dress. And a garment, argaman, of purple. We know that argaman means purple. A garment of the purple. Vayomer, and he said, no pronoun, it must be he, and he said, Alehem, unto them. Pilatos, Pilate, hine, behold, ha-adam, the man. So from the previous verse, a crown of thorns upon him and a purple garment. Pilate said to them, behold the man. And I've just repeated these different things so that you can see the argaman means purple, crimson, mauve, or magenta. So now we remove that and read it. Ulvush ha'argaman vayomer alehem Pilatos hine ha'adam. And the translation, and a garment of purple, and he said unto them, Pilatos, behold the man. And now we're in 6, it's represented with a vav, the 6th letter of the alphabet. And then we go through it. Vav, yod, hey, yod, kaf, aleph, shin, resh, resh, aleph, hey, vav, resh, aleph, shin, yod, hey, kaf, hey, nun, yod, mem, safid, vav, hey, mem, shin, resh, tav, yod, mem, safit. And I do hope you're getting used to the letters. So it is he, and it was. Ka'asher, like, it could be like when, like that, but when suits, like when, ra'uhu, which is they saw him. So we know that ra means to see. So it's almost like the oo is telling us it's like they saw him, a completed action. Ra-she, the heads of, and again it's a construct form with that ending, with zere and the yod. Ha-kohanim, the priests. The ham-sharatim, and the servants. If we look there down here, me-sharet can be a noun or adjective meaning servant, footman, attendant, valet, or officer. So they often translate officer like here. And it came to pass when the chief priests and the officers saw him. Right, now we're going to read that. Is Vehi Ka'isher Ra'uhu Rashe Ha-Kohanim V'ham Sharatim. And the translation, and it was like when they saw him, the heads of the priests and the servants. And now we come to B, which is Va'yitzaku. Yitzaku means, and they cried out. So if we look down here, Za'ak is a kal verb to shout, to cry out, or to protest. Lemor, saying. Hatzlev, crucify. Hatzlev, crucify. And again, it's an imperative hey. So they're saying, it's an imperative, right? Crucify, crucify. Vayomer, and he said, Alehem, unto them. And then who's saying it? Pilatos. They cried out saying, crucify, crucify. Pilate said to them. And again, I've given you also zalav, which is the root kal verb to crucify. So now let us read that. Vayitzaku lemor Hatzlev Vayomer Alehem Pilatos. And the translation, and they cried out, saying, Crucify, crucify. And he said unto them, Pilatos. So the reason I'm giving the translation like that is so that you can compare it with the English and see the sentence structure. Because Hebrew sentence structure is different. So if we're going to speak in Hebrew, we've got to learn the sentence structure just as much. Right, and now we come to part C. And we have Kuf Chet He Vav. Aleph Tav Mem Safit Vav He Zade Lamed Yod Vet He and Vav. Kaf Yod Aleph Nun Kaf Yod Lamed Aleph Mem Zade Aleph Tav Yod Vet Vav Aleph Shin Mem and Hey. So now let's read it. Ka Hu Hu. And again the kibbutz is like saying, you take him. You take him. Atem, meaning you. So you take him, you, and it's translated yourselves. The Hatz li vuhu. The Hatz li vuhu. And you crucify him. Again, the u is like you. We know salav means to crucify, and you crucify him. Ki, for, anuki, I, lo not matzati, I have found, vo in him, ashma, which is translated as guilt. So let's look down here. Lekach means to take, to acquire. Matzah means to find, to discover. Ashma is a feminine noun meaning blame, fault, or guilt. And then we've also got, that's ashama. And then we've got asham, which is a kal verb. It means to transgress, to be guilty. So you can see how the word's used slightly differently when it's a noun or a verb. Now in this case, up the top, we know it's like a noun. So we will read that. Ka hu hu atem v'hatz li vu hu ki anoki lo matzati vo ashma. And the translation, now you take him, you, and you crucify him, for I, not I, have found in him guilt. And of course that brings us to the end of this week's, and we have our revision coming up now. So let us go through the revision. We know that the Aleph, meaning it's verse 1, as then lakach he took Pilatos, Pilate, et grammar marker Yeshua ve yaserehu, and flogged him bashotim, with whips. And the translation, then he took Pilatos, grammar marker Yeshua, and flogged him with whips. And we have veit, value of 2, verse 2. Ve saragu, which is, and they interlaced or wove. Anshe, meaning the men of ha-sava, the army. Ateret, a crown of. Kotsim, thorns. Vayashimu, and they placed, you could say, and they placed it, al upon rosho, meaning his head. And they interlaced men of the army a crown of thorns, and they placed it upon his head. And down here, Vaya'atuhu, and they wrapped him, levush, we could say in a garment, argaman, of purple. And they wrapped him in a garment of purple. And then we have Gimel, value of 3. Vayomru, and they said, Shalom, peace, leka, to you, Melech, king, ha-Yehudim, of the Yehudim, of the Jews. Vayakuhu, and they struck him, al upon, ha-lechi, the cheek. And they said, peace to you, king of the Yehudim, and they struck him upon the cheek. Then we have Dalet, value of 4. Vayetse, and he came out, or he went forth. Pilatos, which is of course Pilate, odd again, ha-chutza, to the outside, with the directional hay there, to the outside, va-yomer, and he said, Alehem unto them, Hini, behold I, motzi, am bringing out. So I am, we could say, bringing out. And he went forth, Pilatos again, to the outside, and he said unto them, behold, I am bringing out. Oto, him, aleikem, unto you, le'ma'an, so that, tedu, meaning you shall know, ki, that, lo, not, matzati, I have found, vo in him, kol, in this form, any, avon, iniquity. So it is, I am bringing out him unto you, so that you shall know that not I found in him any iniquity. And now we come to Hay, which is 5. For Yahushua, and Yahushua, Yatsa, came out, or went forth, ha-chutz, the outside, so we could say he came forth outside, va'alev, and upon him, ateret, a crown of, again it's a construct form, ha-kotzim, of thorns. And Yahushua, he came forth outside, and upon him a crown of thorns. And then we have ulvush, and a garment, ha-argaman, of purple, vayomer, and he said, Alehem, unto them, and then who said? Pilatos, Pilate, Hine, behold, ha-adam, the man, and a garment of purple. And he said unto them, Pilatos, behold the man. And we have Vav, which has a value of 6, and it is Vahi, and it was Ka'asher, which can be like that, but it can also be like when. Ra'uhu, they saw him, and now it's telling us who. Rashi, the heads of Ha-Kohanim, the priests, the Ham-Sharatim, and the servants. And it was like when they saw him, the heads of the priests and the servants. Vayitzaku, which is, and they cried out, Lemor, saying, Hatzlev, which is crucify, Hatzlev, crucify, it's imperative. Vayomer, and he said, Alehem, unto them, Pilatos, Pilate. And they cried out, saying, Crucify, crucify. And he said unto them, Pilatos, Kahuhu, you take him. Atem, you. V'hatzlivuhu, and you crucify him. Ki, for, Anoki, I, lo not, matzati, I have found, though in him, ashma, which is guilt. You take him, you, and you crucify him, for I found in him guilt. Amen. And again, we now come to our vowel markings. And again, we'll pick the top line today. And we see that here we have what's called a cholam. So often the vav is not sounded when the cholam's up there. But as we saw in avon, it is because there's two vavs. Right? So it's an O sound. Then we have a shava, which can be silent, or it can be a short E sound to mean shava, like that, instead of shva, shava. And it breaks up the word into its syllables, so we can pronounce it. We know how to pronounce it. Then we have segol, which is like a short E sound, se. Then we have zere, which is a longer E sound. Then we have patak, which you can hear as a short A sound. And then we have kamatz, which is a longer A sound. And that will do for that. And finally, we see we have our numbering. And of course, we started with the very basics, which is Aleph 1, Vet 2, Gimel 3, Dalet 4, Hey 5, and Vav 6. And again, I repeated the resources for you, and I pray that you do use them. They're very useful in our practice. And you can actually download each chapter wherever in the scriptures you want if you go to that website, and then you can practice. So we just like to thank you for joining us, and we pray that you are blessed by listening and learning the Hebrew so that we can read our scriptures in its original form, and we believe it to be the Kadosh, the holy tongue. Amen, and have a blessed week. Shavua Tov.